All right, good evening and welcome. It is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. We are convened as the Provo City School District Board of Education. We are meeting at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah at about 7:07 p.m. We will begin with a roll call and we will start down with Derek Anderson.
Derek Anderson, Business Administrator.
Gina Hales, Board Member.
Jennifer Partridge, Board Member.
Rebecca Nielsen, Board Vice President.
Melanie Hull, Board President.
Keith Rattel, Superintendent.
McKay Jensen, Board Member.
Terry McCabe, Board Member.
Nate Bryson, Board Member.
Is there a motion to convene?
I move that we convene the business meeting.
All right, we are now in our business meeting. Hold on, I'm in the wrong board docs. Okay. Next, we are having our opening remarks by Terry McCabe.
The Provo High School Advanced Jazz Band is under the direction of Mr. Devin Halcomb. This year, 3 members of the band received All-State honors: Austin Wages and Enoch Thornock in the All-State Symphonic Band, Jay Henry in the All-State Wind Symphony, and Enoch Thornock in the All-State Jazz Band. Advanced Jazz is preparing for the Spring 2022 Jazz Festivals at BYU next Saturday, Regent on March 2nd, and Peaks Jazz Festival later in March. At the end of March, Advanced Jazz is slated to travel with the Provo High Performing Arts Department to New York City.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Next, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Austin Wages, and he's a Provo High School student and also a member of the jazz band. So if he would like to come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we're going to have our employee recognition, which is the Provo Way Awards, and I'm going to turn the time over to Jason Cox, our Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you again, Board, for this opportunity to recognize some of our great employees here in the school district. Tonight, I'd ask that when I call your name, please stand. And actually, why don't you walk up here and join me on the front row, because after we go through the video, we want to allow the board to thank you each personally. So I'll call your name, come on up, and we can give them an applause as we go. We have Michelle Cruz, who's receiving the award tonight. The Polo is receiving the award tonight. Ryan McCarty. Kaylee Elkins. Stephen Petrovich. Kathy Kaiser. All right, we'll go ahead and watch the video.
Good morning. We are the Provost Celebrations Committee, and we are here at Timpview High School to celebrate one of our amazing secretaries, Lisa Polo.
I wanted to be able to take the opportunity to say, on behalf of the board and district administration, we want to say thank you for all the work that you do, because we recognize that you work really hard to get things done up here and help us out, help the school out. So thank you.
She knows something about everything at the school. She's humble. We've already seen that in how she's not willing to accept this award and acknowledge her greatness. And she is so kind to our community. The students and the parents love her. And I love working with her.
Hello everyone, we are the Provo Celebrations Committee, and we are here at Timpanogos Elementary to surprise Michelle Cruz. She was nominated for the award. She doesn't know we're here. Let's go surprise her.
On behalf of the school board, we want to thank you for your dedicated service in our district.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Just because you're just amazing. Thank you. And you're the reason why 5th grade is awesome and stays afloat, because we are all new teachers, relatively, and it's just, we rely on you and your expertise, and
oh my goodness,
look up to you so much. So,
well, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome to Amelia Earhart. We are the Celebration Committee, and we are here to surprise Ryan McCartney. We're going to go into his office and surprise him, so come on over. Let's surprise him.
Thank you for everything you do on behalf of the board. But Amanda was the one who nominated you, so I'm gonna, she gets to tell everyone why you're awesome.
You are the best.
Treat all the kids as they're your own kids. You never have to worry when we send our kids to school. We know they're in good hands with you and the principal.
That means a lot, and I do feel that way, so thank you so much.
Hi, we're the Celebration Committee, back a second time this week to award 2 amazing bus drivers with the Provo Way Award. We're going to surprise Kaylee Elkins and Stephen Petrovich with the Provo Way Award, so follow us in.
We appreciate all that you do as bus drivers in our district. You are such an important part of what we do, and we thank you for all that you do for our students.
We got both Kaylee and Stephen are special needs drivers. One is at Stephen's at Centennial, Kaylee is at Dixon. They both handle special needs routes, which usually have bus aids. For a good portion of this year, we didn't have any bus aids, and they not only had their full contingent of students to handle, every day, but they also had, I think, at least, 3 or 4 wheelchairs each every day to handle by themselves, which is not, it's a 2-person job. Didn't complain, were just such good employees, have gone well above and beyond the call of duty as far as doing their work. I just felt like they were 2 of our people of all that really deserve some extra kudos, extra pat on the back for doing such a great job and being great employees. So we really appreciate you guys and wanted them to have this award because they deserve it.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're the Celebrations Committee, and we're here at Rock Canyon. We get the opportunity to celebrate Cassie Kaiser today. She's an instructional assistant in one of our kindergarten classes.
Well, on behalf of the board, we just want to say congratulations. We've heard just amazing things you're doing here in this kindergarten class and helping out Mrs. Murray all the time. She's such a fabulous person to work with, and you're so lucky. So thank you for everything you do, and congratulations.
So, Miss Cassidy, is she always here to help us every morning? Yes, and she always does things for me before I even ask her, so she can read my mind. And she has everything ready for us, and she helps us with words we need to spell, and she helps us to read, and she's just absolutely amazing. And we don't know what we do without her, right? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you so much for everything. Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for being so awesome.
Thanks so much.
So much for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Really great.
Nice job. Congratulations. Hi to Karen.
Thanks for everything.
Good job.
Congratulations.
So great.
Good job. Thank you. It's always so fun to be able to recognize amazing people in our district. Next, we're going to have a school report of Oak Springs and Slate Canyon, and I'm going to turn the time over to Travis Cook, the Administrator of Alternative Education.
Thank you, Board, for welcoming me. It's been a while. So we'll go through this real quick. Travis Cook, Administrator Alternative Ed. I've been here 3 years now. You first saw me with eSchool first year, and then Slate Canyon second year, and now Oak Springs, Slate Canyon, the Continuum third year. So if you remember, it's been a while since we've talked about youth in custody programs in this district. These are the statutes and rules that apply. Please note that the 53Es are going to reference the state side for USBE, and the 62As are going to reference the hospital side. For context purposes, the State Industrial School was the first school in Utah that had a line item for education purposes, and it operated for quite some time. And then there was a brief period of time where there was a debate about where education should land. Should education continue with Health and Human Services Administration, or should it fall to the State Board of Ed? At that time, they moved $300,000 from the Reform School to Ogden School District, and that was the beginning of the youth in custody line item. 53A makes the responsibility of the boards, the state boards, but as you know, the board prefers to use LEAs to do the work of the board. It insulates them and provides them a lot of ancillary benefits they don't get if they don't go that direction. One notable change is that back in my time when I was at the board for all those years, the code was very clear, and it said that only students in formal state's custody were eligible for these funds. Since that time, the code has changed to receiving services from the Department of Human Services. And for those that are following state politics, Health and Human Services is now combined and is the largest state agency in the state of Utah. So again, as we talk about the state board itself, its objective is to contract with LEAs to provide these services. And so you'll see in that second bullet point, the state board will, where feasible, contract with districts and other appropriate agencies. Please note that right now, there are no other appropriate agencies being contracted to provide youth and custody services in the state of Utah. All of those services are contracted via LEAs like Provo City School District. This is just a note to mention that YSC students are students of the district in which they are being served. And it's just a statutory way of saying if you're receiving the funds and providing the services, those students are ostensibly your students while they're in your care. The board waiver piece you're familiar with, and board waiver could be used at any point for any youth and custody purposes as well as any other purpose you would deem necessary. This is just a way of saying, both internally and externally, are the services being provided on par with what the market would bear and what the market would provide? And so the only school that's even remotely like Oak Springs School on the campus of the Utah State Hospital is the Rivers Edge School in Jordan School District. There are some distinctions. The number one distinction is that Rivers Edge School is exclusively a special ed school. Oak Springs School historically was deemed a special ed school. Since my arrival, it's technically a gen ed school with a high proportionate rate of special ed students, but it is a gen ed school for all intents and purposes. And you'll note that we align very closely, if not just a little bit under what our commitment is for what the market's already bearing. These are some of the students that we serve on a regular basis. All of these students arrived the same week, believe it or not. And this was a slide I put together for something else I was doing, but it just gives you some context of the complexities and the level of support that this student population needs to be successful in school. This is kind of a critical slide in the sense that as much as we are educational providers, that's the work that I do, that's the work that I've been engaged in all this time. In many cases for these students, we're not the primary priority, if you will. Safety and security at Slate Canyon is first and foremost. Care and treatment at the hospital is first and foremost. But we're an integral partner and a protective factor to the students that we serve, and that will help them both academically and socially and emotionally toward what we hope is their future success. This is kind of the fun stuff that we do, kind of the highlights, what you've probably seen in other presentations in the past. One I'm very excited about that took me about 16 years to get done is the A1 driving school voucher program. So we're finally in a position now where statewide students that are in DCFS custody and JJS custody can earn their driving credential plus a voucher for the driving portion while in care and then exit with a license. So that's a big deal. And then probably last but not least, the bottom bullet there is a very recent addition to a long line of work that's been done for these populations. And there was a bill last session, HB 279, that brought higher education formally into incarcerated settings. This was attempted in the past, but it was never fulfilled until now. And so currently, right now at Slate Canyon, our students are taking those 4 courses this semester. Okay, that's my presentation. And really, the opportunity is yours to ask me any questions you'd ever have about youth in custody. Except for Gina.
Come on.
Okay, fire away.
Thank you for your work. You and I have spoken, but I have worked very extensively with these populations.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the efforts that go into it. And I can tell, I was talking to Keith, he said, do you know Travis? I said, yes, we've met in meetings. He's extremely competent and very good at what he does, and we're glad to have him. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
My question is, do you have someone assigned, like a school board member assigned to these schools? Because most schools do. And so that's my first question. The follow-up question is, would it be beneficial for you to have one if you don't have one?
So This line item is governed by two advisories, one at the state level called the Utah Coordinating Council for Youth in Custody, it's a statutory advisory, and one at the local level called the Local Interagency Council. There is not a state board, there's not a board member obligated in either of those advisories. However, we'd love to have you participate. You've participated in the past with that advisory and would happy to have someone else represented in the future.
But would it be like, I guess, is it enough to have, because I serve on I don't know if it's called the YIC committee.
Yeah, right.
Is that enough representation, do you feel, for these populations?
It probably is sufficient. But again, you're welcome at any time at any of the sites. I think the org chart will probably be the org chart that was in board docs will probably give you the best understanding of kind of how we're structured in Provo, but board members are always welcome at any time.
And one more thing, I would love to be invited to anything that our kids are doing, if they have any. I like to go to the different schools and see what they're doing. I'm especially interested in this YIC Arts, Untold Stories. That sounds fascinating. If there's ever anything where you're doing a show or if they're showcasing anything, I would love to be aware of that so that I could support that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously COVID has made things kind of interesting. For those that have attended a variety show in the past at Slate Canyon, they're kind of raucous affairs. We'd love to have you out. The band is not quite jazz band level. It's a little more rock and roll type of style, but we'd love to have you out for sure.
I have some questions for you.
Go ahead, please.
Just a few technical questions I'm just interested in. Kids come to these two facilities from all over the entire state, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what would you say the average stay length is for each facility? Because I would assume they're fairly short, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a great question. So with juvenile justice reform, we had guidelines that used to be 6 months to a year plus. They're 3 to 6 month guidelines now.
In Slate Canyon?
At Slate Canyon.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the things that does is that the intent is for all students that don't meet a level of need to stay incarcerated for civil rights purposes or other kind of long-term success purposes are exited very quickly. So the average length of stay right now at Slate Canyon is going to hover somewhere between that 6 and 8 month range.
Okay, see, that's interesting to me because my husband and I used to work in youth corrections. It's been a while, but so the experience we had with Slate Canyon is it was a quick turnover. For a couple days, and then they sent you to wherever you were going to go.
Okay, so at Slate Canyon, there's 4 living units. There's a detention living unit that's less than 10 days on average stay. There's a high acuity unit, the only one of its kind in the state of Utah, which is a long-term stay for that criminogenic mental health convergence, right? And then 2 long-term units where we'll have students between 6 months and longer.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Okay.
It's a tough question to answer because they're always kind of playing with it, right? So the serious offender law just changed. We can have students up to the age of 25 at Slate Canyon.
Okay.
So that's changed from 21 all the way up to 25, mirroring what they do in Oregon.
Awesome. So then I assume so my question was like, how are you able to do these, courses if kids are there for 2 days? But that's not typical anymore.
Correct. So,
got it.
So all of the programs you're seeing here are going to be for the long-term population. And if and when we can do things short-term, we will. They'll get the same daily dosage of compulsory ed and FAPE, but they're not necessarily going to participate in all the long-term activities.
Okay. And then you mentioned in your presentation how your priorities are safety and security, and you mentioned that education kind of am I right? If it was number third on the list. So how well do you feel like you're able to really get in some good education for these kids?
Great question. So the intent of the line item obviously is to be a stopgap, and then if and when we can to do more than just be a stopgap. So on a YPA hearing, a youth parole hearing this morning, we have a student that's graduating, and a parent who gets on that hearing and the child on the hearing both say, we never in our wildest dreams thought that we would graduate, that this child would graduate from high school. And so we'll have 3 graduations this month, well, between last month and this month, 3, which is fairly significant for Slate Canyon. Again, the stars have to align. They have to come with a certain number of credits and stay with us a length of stay that will allow us to do the work necessary to catch them up. But we have the ability to do that. And that's kind of one of the system objectives.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then this is just a kind of a silly question, but I'm curious. Since the state is responsible for these kids, but they contract with us, correct? So are you an employee of our district or of the state?
Depends on what, I'm just making sure Keith still wants me here. So yeah,
Just curious. This one's
I'm
just a
still,
curiosity.
at this time, I am employed by Provo City
We
School
will
District.
claim him.
Provo City School District, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great questions.
My question is a follow-up of, you said they can go up to age 25.
You can.
What happens after 25?
At 25, depending on kind of their obligation to the system as a whole, they could continue on into the adult system, or they could be released at that stage. You know? Okay. The intent of that, the idea behind that is, if you have a juvenile commit a very serious offense at a younger age that they know they're going to spend a considerable amount of time incarcerated, the idea is that you want them to stay in a juvenile setting rather than expedite them into an adult setting. Yeah, it's more of a protective process. Yeah.
Thanks for what you did. What's the state of our, communication with our other districts, sort of locally, where we're going to get referrals, and there's got to be some coordination. How's that going?
Absolutely. So with Alpine and Nebo, believe it or not, all the students that are paroled, well, a number of the students that are paroled out of Slate Canyon, for example, just go across the border there from Provo City into Springville, and most of them are in a transition process with a program there called ALTA. And so we have a very, very close working relationship with both Nebo and Alpine school districts.
Great.
Yep. And then at the state level, people doing this kind of dedicated work, dedicated full-time people, we're talking about less than 4 or 5 administrators in the state that would have the scale of these kinds of programs in one geographical area to warrant the amount of effort and the resources to do this kind of work full-time. So Granite, Davis, Provo, Ogden, Salt Lake.
How many other places in the state are there, like Slate Canyon?
So secure facilities, there are 5. There's Farmington Bay as the female unit. There's a facility, Mill Creek in Ogden, Decker Lake in Salt Lake, Southwest in Cedar City, very small in Cedar City. 8 beds.
Oh, that's fine. The presentation, it said how many beds Oak Springs has, but how many does Slate Canyon have?
So both Slate Canyon and Oak Springs were initially built with 72 beds.
Okay.
What ends up happening is there's a constant shifting of need and service, and so right now with the high acuity unit, that's only funded for 5 beds on their side, but the staffing ratios are very high. It's probably the most complex unit in their system. So I should say, the most complex students in the state of Utah make their way through Provo City School District by way of Oak Springs School on the campus of the state hospital, and by way of Slate Canyon, especially through the high acuity unit. And that's both good and very complicated.
All right, is there any other further questions?
And so just to address one last thing that I think came up years back. Right now, we're fully reimbursed for all costs associated with this program, from personnel all the way down to supplies, by the State Board of Education. That's the agreement that's entered into by Provo City School District with the State Board for the youth in custody purpose.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
While Travis is sitting down, if I may say, Travis was aggressively recruited by a much larger state agency, and he chose to stay with us. We're happy about that.
So I intentionally came to Provo, mainly to do the work with the state hospital, and I'm thrilled to be able to do that. We've made some very significant changes over the past year. I'm astounded by the level of detail that happens in this district, both the care and concern and the detail. And we are definitely, especially in the youth in custody space, where everyone's looking. We're involved in many active committees trying to get this work as right as we can get it for the student population, and I see that consistently in Provo City School District. So kudos, superintendent, to all of you on the board, and to everyone that does this work. I really have enjoyed working and will continue to enjoy working in Provo City School District. Thank you.
Thank you again. Next, we're going to have a report on Sunset View Elementary and Dixon Middle School Kindness Clubs. I'm going to turn the time over to Alex Jutter, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Schools.
Good evening, school board, and I'm excited to be able to talk to you just a little bit and then introduce both Chris Chilcote, as well as Tommy Hershey tonight. As you know, we've been kind of working on kindness clubs in our schools for a number of years, and in the elementary ranks, it has really kind of sunk their teeth in. It's really kind of grounded and embedded well into our schools. We want to just also give a huge kudos to our social workers. They have become a very integral part of what we do in our schools in helping to lead the charge and honestly create that culture of kindness within our own schools. So every year we have a kindness retreat. Many of you went to it this year and were able to be a part of it, where we take a number of kids that are part of our kindness clubs, and we go and bring them all together, give them a kindness shirt, and then also give them some training on how and what that kindness club looks like, sounds like, could feel like, and take it back to their schools and really embed those kindness principles into their schools. It's really quite fun and entertaining. This year, we're also excited to be able to say that the secondary folks had a kindness retreat as well, which was a new adventure for them, and it went off really well. So we're grateful for our administrators and those who keep it going, and for the great work of promoting kindness and positivity in our schools. So I'm going to turn some time over to Chris Chilcote first, and then Tommy Hershey from Dixon Middle School to celebrate and share some of the great things that they're doing in their schools. So Chris.
Good evening. I'm excited to be here to talk about the great things that are happening at Sunset View with regards of to our kindness club. I was talking to my social worker today, and we have a pretty good relationship. And he's actually wanted to be here today, but he just had his wife just had a brand new baby and was unable to be here. But so I got to have the opportunity to speak to you. But I've got to concur with what Alex said about our social workers. They are amazing. We are so lucky to have full-time social workers in our elementary schools. And the work that Chris Bringhurst does at Sunset View is just amazing. You know, we've had the Kindness Club for 7 years at Sunset View. And it was paired at times with our Hope Squad, as well as what we call our SOAR Squad. And it's with our PBIS. And SOAR is our acronym that stands for Show Respect, Own Learning, Act Responsibly, and Reflect Safety. And so our Kindness Club really emulates what we look for in a Sunset View Dragon. And it's really cool is we have 24 leaders on our Kindness Club. They're the ones that participate in the yearly training that Alex talked about. But we have every one of our students participates in the Kindness Club. So we have over 500 students who sign a pact during our Kindness Week that we celebrate in November each year. And when we have activities that week, and then we have activities actually every month that is designed by our Kindness Club leaders. And so it's pretty awesome. It's cool to watch them participate. They meet every Wednesday before school. And it's amazing to see the dedication of these young kids with excitement and enthusiasm. Each one of the leaders has when they apply to be a leader, they have to do a project for the school. And it's fun I get texts from parents, emails from parents saying, is it okay my child does this? And I'm like, yeah, you bet. So we see an influx of posters. We see just students doing kind things around our school, and it's fantastic. We have a kindness jar, and each one of the leaders and students can pick from that kindness jar of an act they can do, and then they report once a month to the kindness leaders on what they did. And our teachers get to select 2 students each month that we recognize as our kindness students of the month. And it's fun to recognize those students each month as well. So just one of the activities right now is we're spreading kindness with hearts for Valentine's Day, and so we have hearts all over our school, mailboxes with hearts coming out of different acts of kindness that are seen and performed at Sunset View Elementary School. And so there's things like that happen monthly due to our Kindness Club. So do we have any questions for me about what we're doing at Sunset View? Excellent. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here. First, I just want to recognize our counselor, Karen Bradley. She's the one that is most involved with the Kindness Club at Dixon. And then also our social worker is just amazing, Mary Elisa. So the structure of the Kindness Club at Dixon, we usually have 3 to 4 groups of about 20 to 30 students. This year we have about 60 students, and so they meet in 3 different groups, and we have a teacher that leads a group as well. And they typically will meet during either team time, which we have weekly, or during E-time, which is an intervention time. Some of the things that they've done over the years, at the beginning of the year, they get in pairs, and they're trained on a lesson and teach a lesson about respect, which is one of our core values at Dixon. And they'll go around during team time and teach those lessons to our team time classes. Once a month, they do teacher thank you notes, where they'll pick their favorite teacher or a teacher that's done something kind for them, write them a thank you note, and deliver it in their box. One of the things that I really appreciate that they do is every time we get a new student, which is quite a bit, a couple times a week probably, our counselor, Karen Bradley, will find a student from the Kindness Club that shares a class with them, and we try and get the class right before lunch. And they'll give them a tour of the school, get to know them a little bit, and then take them to lunch, and they have a friend to sit with. And it's really helped them become included and involved in our school. I very rarely see a new student that doesn't have a friend within a couple days because of that. Along with that, we also do a new student breakfast. So every month, every student that came that previous month will be invited to a breakfast where they get to do get to know you games, just help them feel included. And Mrs. Bradley will give them some welcome gifts. And then in the past, we've done a kindness chain competition where students will write down kind things that others have done for them, and then they complete a chain, and whoever has the longest chain at the end of the month will get a pizza party. Some of the things that they plan for the future are they're going to start doing a High Five Friday, which they learned about at the kindness retreat that we just went to. And so the way that they're going to do that is as students come in off the bus, they're going to form a tunnel essentially and just clap and cheer, give them a high five as they come in the school. And then we are also going to invite some of our Kindness Club student members to 6th grade registration so that they can talk about that with our 6th graders as they're registering so that they're aware and know about it. The impact that I've seen, it gives a lot of students an opportunity for leadership. So we have students from our student PBIS team that are in the Kindness Club, as well as our student government. And so with that, they're able to coordinate our efforts, but it also gives a lot of other students that don't have that opportunity to be on one of those teams a chance to lead. It's helped them develop empathy and awareness. Like I said, our new students make friends a lot faster and become involved and included in our Dixon community a lot faster because of that, and it's created a friendlier environment and culture for us at Dixon. So, any questions?
I just have a quick comment.
Yeah.
I love all the new student-focused parts of the club. That's fabulous because everybody knows junior high is so hard and tricky. And to be a new kid at a junior high would be extra hard, I feel like. So that was fabulous. I love that.
Awesome, thank you. Just to add to that too, we have a lot of students that come from out of country and don't speak any English. And so for those students, I've really noticed a huge difference because we pair them with a Spanish-speaking member of the Kindness Club, and it's been awesome.
I just want to say to both you and Chris, thank you for sharing. I'm having a hard time not crying here at all the good things that are happening at your schools. And I'm just trying to think how we as adults can follow suit and spread this throughout our whole community because it's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to give a huge prop to both of these gentlemen for their reports tonight and recognize our schools are really doing remarkable things to promote the kindness in our own schools that aligns with PBIS and many other of the systems that we have. A huge prop to Jennifer for being a huge part of our kindness community that's kept going for a long time. We're super excited about where we're going to be able to go with this and keep it going. So any questions for me? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we've now come to the part for public input.
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
It is Kindness Week citywide, and we do have some Kindness Starts Here stickers, and they're over here on this table. Anybody who's here tonight, if they want one, they're welcome to have one.
All right. So for public input, if you would like to approach or to speak to the board, over here on my right, your left, is a paper that needs to be filled out, then handed to Bonnie, our secretary. And if you would like to speak to us about anything, we need you to fill that out for us. Okay, while we're waiting, we're going to approve our first business item. Derek, will you speak a little bit about the fees, or not the fees, this is the, which one is this? Policy 40.
Yes, okay. So policy, the policy before you is an update on the fee or the fine for the technology. So what this is doing is it's widening the amount that can be charged. So in the event that a parent a student damages one of their Chromebooks, the base amount that they can get charged is lower than where it currently is, but the top end is also higher. So if there's a key replacement, the bottom end is a $30 replacement, but it could go all the way up to, if they have a brand new Chromebook and they drop it in the water or the lake or something, it's the cost of the replacement. And so that's kind of what this is doing, is widening that scope of what can be charged, and then also kind of refining and defining that this will only be charged to the parents of those students, and we're not going to turn the schools into collection agencies and things like that.
Okay, is there a motion on this?
Yeah, I move that we approve. I move that we approve policy 4202 as discussed in the study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Bryson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Jensen. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Just a quick note.
Yeah.
The language here is different. Do we need to say adjustments to policy 4202? Or does it matter?
We're still approving it.
Yeah, we're just approving it, yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to go back to public input. If Jared Curtis would like to approach.
Hello, my name is Jared Curtis. I live in the Timpanogos neighborhood. I have two daughters that go to Timpanogos. I've tried to get them a little more involved in school board, city. I can't talk them into coming with me yet, but I still got their opinion on a few things that I wanted to share. Something's come up pretty frequently. I have one picky eater and one non-picky eater, and both of them hate school lunch. I know that there's funding issues and different things like that, but there are other things that could maybe be adjusted. One of them eats at, I think, 10:30, she says, in the morning, so she gets home really, really hungry. And sometimes it's cold chicken, and sometimes it's, and this is the one that's not the complainer. The other one complains, and I take what she has with a grain of salt. Maybe she should eat her food with a grain of salt. But so that's what they wanted me to. I wanted them to come explain that, but they weren't ready. So if there's anything that could be adjusted for them on that. They were also grateful that they've seen some people really scared with Omicron, and they're grateful that you aren't making them wear masks. I've seen them be happier. They've been happier. I'm thankful for that as well. But we've noticed that they're happier, and especially my younger one who's in first grade. So that's what they wanted to share. And then I had a few things, but the last couple meetings that I've been listening to, not here, but the ones that are broadcast, there's been some discussion of distrust, of anger, And yeah, I think there is, and I mean, I distrust a lot of the decisions that you make, and a lot of you. And I think a healthy amount of distrust can be helpful in government. But I don't know if, I think there's a lot of distrust the other way. It's mainly distrust that parents won't make the right decision on whether to mask their kid or not. There's been a lot of distrust both ways, and I don't know how to bring that trust back. Maybe some resignations, maybe some apologies about not trusting parents would be helpful. I don't know. That's just my opinion, to maybe build bridges. Sincere apologies about not trusting parents and not just trusting the students themselves will be helpful in bringing back trust and lowering anger. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board? All right, seeing none, we're going to close the public input part, and we will go on to the redistricting motion. I'll speak just a little bit about this one. The city council, so this year was a census year, and the Utah County redistrict our precincts, which also then meant we had to make adjustments to our own districts. We have 7 districts that are represented up here, and they have to be done in equal size of population. So we don't make that final decision. The city council makes that final decision. So tonight we went through each 105 maps and narrowed it down to 4. Was that correct? Narrowed it down to 4. And so we're going to be presenting those tonight. Is there a motion on that?
I move that we recommend to the City Council the following redistricting plans in the following order. Number 1, our first choice, the plan titled Better Balanced. Our second choice, the plan titled New District Plans. And for a tie for third place, the 2 plans, the first being titled Distributed Schools and the second Balanced for Dixon, as discussed in the study session.
All right, motion made by Board Member Nielsen. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Board Member Partridge. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. All right, next is school fees motion. Derek, would you speak on that a little?
Yep, so what you have before you is the updated school fee schedule for the 2022-2023 school year. This is reflecting all the changes that the schools have requested for their fee schedules in the event that the state law does not change regarding school fees. Right now there's legislation being proposed that would potentially change the way the school fees, what is allowed and what is not allowed. And so because currently in law, we have to have this approved by April 1st, we have to continue through this in the event that that law does not pass. So this is the fees updated as the schools have requested in the event that there's no change. And this is the first approval, and the second approval will come back before the board next month.
Okay, is there a motion on this?
I move we approve the school fees as presented.
Motion made by Board Member Jensen. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Board Member Hales. Is there any further discussion on this motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. All right, next we need to approve the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the items on the consent calendar.
Motion made by Board Member Bryson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Jensen. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. All right. I have the opportunity to give the board member report. The COVID Safety Committee has now met for over 200 meetings since the beginning of COVID in March 2020. Almost 2 years have passed since this has happened. Thank you to all those that attend those meetings. I know from attending those that everyone there has the best interest of the school district. Now that Omicron has now peaked and things are finally settling down, knock on wood, I want to thank all of our teachers, staff, bus drivers, custodians, nutrition workers, administrators, counselors, and anyone who works here for their help when it was very difficult this past month. Many stepped up to cover classes, cover bus routes, make sure every child was fed. You are all amazing. Thank you to all the parents and students for their understanding as we took an online day to help alleviate the surge. I am hopeful that this is coming to an end, but know that we are committed to give the best educational experience possible, given that we may have to face other obstacles. I also want to say congratulations to the CAPS program. Their first semester is under their belt, and it was a smashing success. It was fun to go to their end of semester presentations, and what a difference those students were from the beginning of the year to the end of their semester. And I look forward to this new semester of students and for many years to come. If you would like to participate with the CAPS program, if you're a business, please reach out to us, we can hook you up. I also want to say I'm grateful for opportunities that we have for students to participate in extracurricular activities. I had the opportunity over the weekend to attend Centennial's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang musical, and it was amazing. Such cute kids, and it's such a neat experience to see so many students involved in these. So I just want to say thank you to anyone who spends extra time giving our students opportunities to grow and develop new skills. And again, like Jennifer brought up, it's Kindness Week. Go to provokindness.org, but we don't need to stop kindness there for just this week, but we can continue doing it year round. So thank you. Keith, Superintendent's Report.
Okay, I have just 2 quick items. One is I have approved 1 in-state travel request, which was Provo High School student government at the end of May to go down to, it's St. George for just a training session. This is the incoming student government for next year, and they've done this particular excursion for about 30 years in a row, from what I understand. It's been quite a long time. So it's an annual trip that I'm used to approving, and they're used to going, and so that's been approved. And then secondly, I mean, Melanie, I guess, kind of stole my thunder, but I was going to say a similar thing. Well over 200 safety committee meetings. I will tell you that this person right here has attended virtually all of them. And that's way beyond the call of duty for any board member. So that's appreciated. I also want to acknowledge Jason Garrison. He's been leading the bulk of those meetings, and it's not necessarily fun or easy. We look at a lot of data, we make decisions, we talk about the best overall strategies, and I will point out for, there were of course some individuals who were unhappy about the decision to close the district for 1 day and move to an online day. We did 1 day, many districts did up to 5. But we do think that that 1 day added to the other days on the calendar that we were already away seemed to have put a pretty big dent in the overall transmissibility of the COVID virus. And the numbers are looking good right now. As I said to the safety committee the other day, I don't think any of us should be prepared to declare victory, but the numbers are way better now than they used to be. So that's all I have. Thank you. And And thank you, Melanie, for your service on that committee.
Well, we're at the end of our meeting, and we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the business meeting.
Thank you for being here.